Well, good morning and welcome to Ask Mason, the video show where I try to answer all the questions that I can from people that just send in those questions about, they might be curious about things that are going on with our city government or just things that are going on here in the city of Enid. I also like to, from time to time, have different people on our show. And this morning, I'm very, very fortunate to have our Ward 4 Commissioner, Commissioner Roberts, Whitney Roberts, and our Junior Commissioner, Mr. Bodie Roberts. Bodie comes to a lot of our meetings, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
And I've always liked that. I've always liked that when you can hear little kids hollering in the background. So this will be a first for me to try to do one of these shows like this, but it's okay. He's going to be just fine. So
we are officially in our toddler phase.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Commissioner, thank you so much for being here. Now,
thank you for having me.
Let's back up just a little bit before we get into city government. Tell me a little bit about how long you've been here in Enid and kind of what brought you to Enid initially. And I know that you have spent time out in California. Mm-hmm. Am I right? Yeah. Because you were telling me about some of the experiences and where you worked out there. So
yeah, I've lived all over, but I've lived in Enid for about 11 years, going on 12, and I was born in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and then moved to Mexico, Missouri, Sioux City, Iowa, Fresno, California, in that kind of the valley area. Okay. I've lived down in LA for a little while, North Carolina, Florida. So I've lived all over, but decided to make Enid my home, and my daughter was 4 years old, and I think it was the best decision I ever made. Actually, out of everywhere I've lived, I wouldn't have picked a better place to raise my kids in.
Yeah, so what was it about Enid that just hit a chord for you?
So I'm used to living in very large cities. I like how this is close enough to the city, but yet it's a small community where everyone's connected.
Yeah,
and it's close to family, so.
Absolutely. Now, while Bodie's with us today, you actually have two children, right? You have Addie also, that is out at OBA. And what grade is she in?
She's in 9th grade.
9th grade. That's right, because she just got her driving permit. I remember talking to her the other day. How's all that going?
Much better. The first initial time that I took her out, a deer actually hit her car. So it's gone up from there. But that wasn't her fault. It was not her fault.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we get to see her at almost every commission meeting. I know she helps out with Bodie, and I just appreciate you so much. Being a commissioner, even at this stage in your life, when it is very, very difficult to take care of a family and just all those other demands that are on you, to still step up and be part of your community.
It's a privilege and an honor.
So, talk just a little bit about city responsibilities. You filed but didn't draw an opponent.
Correct.
So you will be starting your second term on March the 5th.
May.
I'm sorry. I said March. I meant May. Yes, May the 5th. And so this will be your second term. Tell me about the first term. I mean, what was that like initially starting out? Hi, buddy.
So I actually, before I decided to run, I didn't even know what ward I was in until people were asking to have somebody run. And so I looked it up and like, that happens to be my ward. And I was like, if nobody else will run, I'll do it. And nobody else decided to run. So I felt like it was a calling. Talked to my husband. He was behind my decision. I've always had a passion for politics and wanting to get involved. And I ended up winning. It was a roller coaster of emotions, because you never know, especially not being originally from here, how people would react to me or receive me. So it was a very humbling to be elected, and it's humbling again to not have an opponent. Because whenever you run into in a second election, you're like, okay, do they like me or do they not? Have I done my job or have I not done my job? So I take that. I've been doing okay. So.
Yeah. That I tell everybody, there's nothing like going out and knocking on a doorstep, or knocking on a door and standing on the doorstep and let people just question you on any topic that they want to talk about. And
especially during the wintertime.
Yeah, exactly. So how, and I asked this of all the new commissioners, so this is a little bit different with you, but did you feel overwhelmed when you come in on the amount of information that was coming at you?
A little bit, especially since it was budget season, and you're thrown in with the fire, so to speak. So it was a crash course in learning about city politics and government, and but I love it. I love to learn. Over these last 4 years has just been incredible. You grow to have a deeper understanding of how the process works and appreciation for the projects that do come and get completed, because we both know that those are very long processes, and it's given. I've always been an optimistic person, so being able to see this side of everything, I think it's actually improved my optimism even more so for our future of our community.
Our city manager, Gerald Gilbert, uses a phrase that I have now pilfered from him. He always says, "It is easier to campaign than to govern." And I've always remembered that. You know, it's easy to go out there and go, well, let's just build lots of new roads, or let's do whatever. But, you know, we, unlike the federal government, we have to balance our budget every single year. We can't spend more than we have. I mean, I'm saying all this rhetorically. You know it as well as I do. And so it makes it challenging, doesn't it? Whenever every project that comes before us are good projects.
Absolutely.
But then we have to start narrowing it down to what we think can best help the people of our community.
Right, and I see that there's a lot of unseen tasks that have to be done every day by the city that most people don't have the opportunity to witness. And sorry.
No, I think he's a natural.
He loves remotes.
Yeah.
So, being able to see it from this side, that's why I said I just have a deeper understanding and appreciation for everything that gets done. Because there are a lot of things that are not, I would say, like sexy for everybody to want. Like we have to redo our solid waste program, the Call Lake Water program that's vital to our community. So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made that most of the citizens will never know about, but they definitely impact them.
That's an excellent point. $342 million on the Call Water project, and a good portion of that will all be buried under the ground, right? So, so talk to me just a little bit, going into your second term, have another 4 years. Tell me some of the things that you'd like to focus on, that you'd like to see for our community. And I know there's no limit to what all we all want to do, but that are realistic, that you really want to put some effort into this term.
Being that I have a vested interest in our community's future with my children here.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the number one, and for me, a priority is going to continue to be our roads. I know that that is a big project that's going to take years to do, but having solid infrastructure is very important for our community, because I think that it literally lays the groundwork for all the other aspects of our community. I'm looking forward to finishing up the Call Lake program, which should be done at the end of this year. I'm very excited about the new sports complex, softball, baseball, and football. By the time it's done, he'll be able to start playing on the playgrounds, and my daughter will be able to play on the fields. I have just recently decided to help, I guess, in the education front, as far as getting the word out about civics and how important it is to be involved and what it all entails, especially on a local standpoint.
So let's talk about that just a little bit more in detail, because we've visited on the phone several times about this.
Yes.
You know, I taught school for 12 years, so education's always been very, very important to me. You said something on the phone the other day I found very interesting but very true. I don't think most people, and especially our youth, fully understands how municipal government works.
Right.
Because it is very different than state and federal government.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about what it is that you're wanting to do with our school systems.
Well, I've already spoken with my daughter's school, where I believe in in ninth grade they are going over government, and towards the end of the semester they're going to be going over local government. And I would like to go in just for like a day, be able to explain the process of from election to what our duties are, what our responsibilities are, things that we are not allowed to do. That's a big one, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions because of what federal government can do, we can't do necessarily.
Right.
We are bound by a lot more, I think, regulations with our city charters and everything. A lot of young folk, and even I didn't truly understand until I became a commissioner. Getting that knowledge out there, I think, will help our citizens grow to appreciate and understand how the process works, and maybe encourage them to get involved more. That's my main goal. I think that getting involved is vital, especially starting with our young groups, because by the time they get to my age, if they don't have a foundation of that knowledge, it's very hard to get them involved, just because it may not be a passion of theirs. So, like with my daughter, she's started to love politics, and I've had to kind of rein her in on some of her thoughts, and make sure you do your research. You need to study up on that. Do not get into arguments with people.
Yeah.
She's a teenage girl, but I love her fire and I love her passion for it. So maybe she'll follow in my footsteps. I don't know. But my hope is that we can help expose the young population in our community to that knowledge, that they can go home and discuss it with their parents. Like I said, I didn't know what ward I was in, so there's obviously a lot of things about local government that I did not understand until I was in it. And hopefully that would help kind of just get rid of some negative opinions about local government.
Sure. So. Well, I think that's a great idea. I told you I'd help support that any way that I could. Not too long ago, just several months ago, I had the opportunity, the ringing of the bells. I believe it was when we did that here in town to commemorate. I believe it was the signing of the Declaration of Independence, maybe.
Yes.
And there were a lot of kids, young kids, turned out for that. And so I thought, well, I'll just see if anybody has any questions. And I didn't think there would be. Wow, they had a lot of questions, a lot of good questions. And I definitely think they craved that information. So I think it's a great program, great project that you're taking on. One more thing before we finish up. I know that you were also instrumental in, he's fine. You were also instrumental in organizing a group that went out and cleaned up Government Springs Park.
Yes.
I was out there that day, and I thought there'd be the usual 10 people. I think we had 50 or 48 people. There was a huge amount of people.
And there were people that came even an hour before we had scheduled for us to show up. Just to see the enthusiasm from our community members was very encouraging. And even after that, it sparked other organizations and groups to volunteer at the other parks. So I feel like this is just the start. If we can get it either on a schedule or just encourage people to get out and get involved. And it's not so much just about just the volunteering aspect. It's showing thank you, sweetie. It's showing what's the word I'm looking for? Just I guess a love that you have for your community, and also meeting new people, and just, I guess, becoming a part of the community whenever you do something like that. And you don't have to dedicate a whole bunch of time to it. An hour, 2 hours.
We were out there less than 2 hours a day I was out there.
Yeah.
And actually did a lot. I was surprised. It's just amazing when you live in an area that the wind blows almost constantly.
Yes.
How much trash there can be, right? Yeah. But man, it sure made our park look good. And thank you for coming up with that. You know, we don't have to just come up with, you know, game-changing things all the time. It can just really be simple things just to make our community better.
Well, and that comes from actually listening to our constituents and noticing that there was a need for that. So that comes down to one of our jobs is we listen to our constituents. And I think that's where that stemmed from.
Yeah.
So I can't take full credit for that.
Well, Commissioner, I think we've pushed Bodie about as far as we can. I think his attention span's starting to kind of run off.
I don't know how much more he can get into.
Oh, I know. You know what, though? I love it. Like I said earlier, I admire you for what you're doing for your community, even during I'm not going to say difficult, it's a great time in my life when my guys were little, but it's challenging. Every minute of every day is challenging, and but I tell you what, I love that you bring him to the commission meetings. Please keep doing that, and I am looking forward to the next however many years I have. I know you've got 4 more, but I think we make a pretty good team, and I think our commission just continues to get better and better. I look at that real hard now, and I think we've got some pretty aggressive folks on there that, you know, aren't afraid to try some things, and I'm excited about that. I just think it's going to be if we will look out at all the opportunities that are lying in front of us and just be bold enough to reach out and take them, I think good things will happen for Enid. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming in this morning, and keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you.
Bodie, what are you doing, buddy?